Well, Mark, you joked that you might be getting the pizzas in for transfer deadline day. I don't know whether that ended up being the case or whether you were allowed to nip home once it was all done and you knew George was in the building, but it did go quite late.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't actually... it wasn't pizzas. It was the Golden Arches on the way home, though. Got to confess to that one. We didn't get away till about 9:45, so yeah, that was a bit of a later one, but only getting the last little bits of that one done. I mean, it was sort of mainly because he'd been training with QPR in the morning, rehabbing with them, so we didn't get to see him until a little bit later on in the afternoon. So it just took a little bit longer than we'd have wanted, but it was. It was obviously in the pipeline for a few days, so we were fairly confident with it getting done, and it obviously feels like it's later, and we're used to the late nights. It's the media boys and the secretary that had to stay late, so felt for them a little bit. But yeah, we got there in the end, so we're really pleased with his addition and with the window in general.
Yeah, pleased to get him in. He's got a bit of a knock at the moment, has he?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not ideal because in the main, you want to try and get your 5 signings in and playing straight away. But I think in some respects it's the reality of January. You're often taking players that have been injured or are injured or later stages of rehab or haven't played so much. So Michael's obviously the anomaly there, really, that he joined us having played a lot of games. Ryan joined having not played for a long time. Steve signed and then got injured. And obviously George is in the situation he is. And Connor hasn't played for a while as well. So I think that is quite often the case when you get to this point. So we obviously put boys in the team and have rushed them into the team fairly quickly. At the minute, the 5 feels like it's obviously 3 fit to play at the moment. So it feels like it's not as been busy as window as probably it has been. But he's just coming through the back end of a hamstring injury. We obviously found out fairly late on the Tuesday when he got here. He probably wasn't as far along as we hoped, so yeah, we're going to be waiting a couple of weeks to see him. But what we know is, you want to add the right players. There's plenty players available, plenty of late loans available, but one, because of a squad cap and the number of players that you can have, but 2, because if you're going to take someone, you want them to impact your team really. And we were very adamant from the start of this window. I wanted to sign players that have got some calibre and experience and personality to add to our group. I think I don't remember many better windows where we've signed 5 players of such experience at this level, more experience than what we've got, and at a level that's quite exciting. So we were absolutely delighted with the 5 that we've added, because with them joining the returning players from injury and the current players that are here, it makes the squad look a heck of a lot stronger. And really helps the lads that have been here all season, and gives us a nice strong group to go and attack the final part of the year. So George is an attacking midfield player. We see him, I mean, he's played everywhere really over the last few years, but we can see him playing as a central midfield player for us, and having similar type qualities to Conor McGrandles. Obviously he gives us flexibility because he can play in other areas, but to add more creativity to the pitch is important for us from certainly a deeper position. So we're really pleased with that, and we think he could chip in with a goal or 2 as well. So we're delighted to get him and look forward to working with him in the next few weeks when he's fully fit.
Yeah, pleased with your January business. Was it as tough as you may be expected, in that January notoriously difficult to get deals done? Was it hard? Did you have to really work at it to get those players in?
Well, it's always difficult because there's so many available, and you don't always know. Things take time because people don't want to let their players out early, so some of those took longer than we'd have hoped. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what we set out to go and get, Michael, Ryan, the players that we've obviously known a long time and were interested in. Certainly when Ryan came available, we've worked on the Michael one for a fair bit of time, but we're never certain it was going to exactly land in time. Connor's been on our list of midfield players for a long time. As long as I can remember doing this job, he's always been a player I've really admired and wanted to have here. Similar with Steve Seddon. And I think what you see across the board is we've added players in positions that we've really suffered in this season with injuries. So centre-back's been an issue for us for injuries and consistent partnerships and pairings. Left-back, the same, been a position that's struggled, and that curse sort of continued with Steve's first game. And central midfield, obviously with Liam and Adam being out, definitely areas that we've wanted to add. So we've done that. That enables us to be stronger in those positions. And actually, as returning players come back, we'll have a big squad. We'll have a lot of cover in every position, and sometimes that's a bigger squad than we want. But at the same time, we've got to look after the club. And I know at the longer term side of that is we may have a few players not involved on match days, and I empathise with the players for that. But at the same time, there's no guarantees that when you look at the injury record we've had this year, we have to make sure we're fully stocked. So there were a lot of options late on that become available, but sticking to the principle of adding the positions that we wanted, the profile of player that we wanted, and players at the age and stage of their careers that they are. I think that was a really important part of that, and one or two little options of first time loans or younger players may have popped up late on in the window, and they may have been ready to influence the team right now. But for me, if they're not going to play a bigger part, and you're going to take someone's player and they might not even be involved in squads in a couple of weeks, I don't think that's right. And I also this isn't a development team. This is a team that's got to win. So we need people that can come and help us do that. So in George's case, that's not quite ready yet, which is a bit frustrating. But at the same time, we know when he is, he's going to be a really good one for us, and he's super motivated to finish this season well and get back to playing. Same as the other boys that have joined and the boys that are currently here. So yeah, I'm really enthused and excited by the players that we've added and what that's done to the rest of the team and the group. And I hope that shows over the next few weeks.
Did you quite deliberately want to open up three at the back as an option with the signings as you've gone the past couple of games? Yeah, definitely.
It's something we flirted with earlier in the season, but I think like any system that we played, we were always a little bit square pegs in round holes at times, because the reality was we were always lacking either full-back positions or central defenders or central midfield players. So we've had to fudge our way around that a little bit for too long. So we need to make sure we're strong enough and we've got enough cover everywhere to be able to find that variety. And I look at us now and I think we've got three goalkeepers fit and ready to go. We've got Willow and Benno as full-backs or wing-backs, or Willow can play as a centre-half. Gibbs, Michael, Lloyd, Ryan Bennett, Greg Taylor, all central defenders. Zeno will hopefully be back last sort of month of the season. Brandon's back training. Steve's a couple of weeks away. Dunks is a couple of weeks away. In the left-sided position, we've got Shiloh and Bros that can play as wingers or in different positions throughout the team. Warmo, Simper, McGrandles, Digby, Thomas, Liam O'Neill not too far away, gives us lots of options in the middle of the pitch. And then at the top end with Nibsy, Jack, Fajiri, Sam, Joey. That's a lot of players, a lot of good players, and it opens up a lot of variety with how we can play. So we felt last week we needed to make some changes to the team just to spark some sort of reaction. And of course that's a little bit like it could be anyone that comes out because of where we've been, but in the main, I think you looked at the team last week and thought it was a strong team, a strong bench, some strong players not in that, and I think that will probably, hopefully, be a pattern between now and the end of the season, that we've got to make the most of the options that we've got, and the variety that it gives us is something we were really looking for. So we can see how that plays out between now and the end of the season. I wouldn't say we're going to be one shape forever, but it certainly gives us a really good option of being a back 3, 4, 5, any way that we choose.
Yeah, and you touched on how previously you've enjoyed working with a smaller squad. Presumably in this situation, you've sort of said it anyway, but a case of needs must, you have to take that risk of it could well be everybody gets fit and you have loads and loads of players, but you don't really have a choice at this stage.
No, one, because of our position, two, because of obviously how it's gone this year, and the three that we've got lots of players that are in a little bit of a different situation, that are either returning from injury and we're not completely sure on the timeline, and you can't guarantee that they won't have a setback along the way. So we've got to cover ourselves, absolutely. We've got to make sure we're stronger. Fundamentally, we've got to be a stronger team than we've been, but also we've just got to add numbers. And we know the origin of all our problems have been injuries, but many other things have spun from there. So you can't hang it on that alone. But we need to give ourselves as many options as we can between now and the end of the season, and certainly that's what we've done.
I know all these things are relative. Ipswich have been going very well, but of late they have had a little bit of a blip by their standards, so maybe one or two areas to get up ahead of this one. Yeah, we've got to find them. We know the size of that challenge. I think every manager will say the same things about them and the strength of their team and the strength of their window. I think they've added very well and spent well and used the resources that they've got. I watched them against Morecambe last week, and
I think the difference now, maybe because of a few results recently compared to a few weeks ago, is they'd fallen out of that automatic promotion spaces and a small gap's opened up. And I saw an angry team against Morecambe that were really determined to get back, and they're chasing something now, and that can be dangerous for us as the opponent, but also it might give us some opportunities as well. So we've got to try and find the formula. We've played them twice already this year. We've done okay in parts of those games. We've got to try and put another performance on the board from last week and see if we can be a really competitive match for them. But I also want to make sure that the things that we do well, we do well, and try and make it an uncomfortable game for them, try and make sure we carry a threat in the game, and try and take a little step forward and see if we can build on last week, because it is a big challenge, but at the same time, probably say that every week now, and whilst we have to be mindful, absolutely, of their strengths and the way in which they play, we have to make sure we focus a real energy in our own performance levels and what problems we can cause them as well.
Yeah, as we said before with Ipswich, you know you're going to spend quite a lot of time off the ball most likely, and it's then managing that transition, what you do on the ball, all of those elements that can make the big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at them statistically, I think they outperform pretty much everybody with every stat, and every statistics say they should be higher in the league than they even are. So we certainly know that challenge, and they dominate the ball against most teams, and the areas of the pitch that they do dominate in, it's very clear. And they've got stronger again. They're very well coached in the way in which they play, and they've got excellent individuals. But like you say, there'll be plenty of moments in the game where we can take some control, not only counter-attack, but take some control of the game, and we'll have to be courageous and brave enough to do that. And of course, we'll have to defend brilliantly, because they are a team that force you to defend, and not just us. You see it against everybody they play. That's how they play, and that's what they do, and that's the strength of them. So we'll have to be good in order to compete with that. But I am excited for the game. I look at it and think there'll be a brilliant crowd, there'll be a brilliant atmosphere. I thought our supporters were amazing last week at Lincoln, and that sort of energy that we're going to need, and togetherness and optimism from everybody in the 19 games that we've got ahead, is going to be really important for us.